Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Thursday, May the 18th. Race number 8 at Belmont Park. We're going 7/8 of a mile on the Widener turf. Second level allowance with a 62,500 optional claiming tag attached to some. This race is for fillies and mares. Let's take a look at this field. Please click the QR code so you can ask your questions for the DRF Preakness webinar that I'll be co-hosting with David Aragona Thursday evening, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss it. It's a very good field, Mike, in here. It's a full field. The 10 and the 11, Movie Moxie Honey Money, entered main track only. You can go a lot of different ways. Graham Motion has been waiting a long time to run Miss Carol Ann. She's been washed off. She's had all sorts of weather-related situations. It looks like she has an opportunity to make her seasonal debut on Thursday.
Yeah, it feels like the right kind of spot for her too, Dan. Just getting started back. This could be a good distance for her. And Motion for the most part is really, really good off of layoffs. This is a good field though. A lot of different ways to go in this race, Dan. You're going to see several of these fillies in stakes races down the line.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. I think the one Mrs. Green's going to show some speed. Whether she's on the lead or whether she sits the pocket, she's going to be up close while saving ground, breaking from the inside post position. Breeze Easy, the number 5, I think is more of a stalker. I'm not exactly sure she's going to the lead, but Regal Realm, the 8, kind of found herself last time out on the lead. I'm expecting her to be going, but I think if Mrs. Green wants it, she can get it.
Hard to argue with this pace projector for sure. I agree with you. Mrs. Green's fast enough to get the lead. They haven't always wanted it with her, but she could get it if they decided to try to get there. I thought probably the 8 would make the lead in this race. Regal Round, then she's plenty fast enough to get there. Even Sail by the 9. She's not a filly that they have to rate in this race. Maybe they will. She's off the layoff here, but she's fast enough to be forward too.
Mrs. Green making her first start since October. Her first start for trainer Mark Cassie, very consistent. She's hit the board in her last 5 starts, and her tactical speed allows her to get good trips as she did in this race. A similar second level allowance during the Belmont at the Big A meet. She just eased off of the rail after working out a pocket trip. She's going to make the lead, but she'll be second best at odds on.
I mean, she ran fine in this race, but she got a really good trip, and at the end of the day, didn't have any real excuse not to win this race, Dan. And that's not the first time that's happened with her. I think she's pretty good, and I really respect that she has tactical speed from the rail in here. But she's facing a pretty strong field off the layoff in this race. She can win for sure. I would demand a pretty good price if I was going to bet her.
Miss Carol Ann is the number 2, coming off the layoff for Graham Motion, and we say it all the time. Motion's one of the best layoff trainers in the game. Miss Carol Ann made her North American debut last year in the Grade 3 Pebbles. It was a paceless race, dominated by the horses up front. She tried to come from out of it, and all things considered, to be beaten 2 lengths, it was not a bad effort at all. She gets Lasix for the first time, and her form overseas was good.
Form overseas was good, and it feels like this is probably the right kind of distance for her too, Dan, getting around one turn off the layoff for a really good layoff trainer. She ran great in the Pebbles, a race where she didn't really have any chance and was running at the end of that race. That's also the case with another filly who's back in here, Bahamian Club. They were just both very badly compromised last time. This filly gets Lasix off the layoff.
Mischievous Dream, the number 3, was purchased for $210,000 by Rapoli Stable at public auction in January. Will now make her first start for trainer Todd Pletcher. She's always been an okay New York bred. I go back to that race 3 starts back at Saratoga going 5.5. I thought she had a good in-out situation, and she was a little bit goofy with her lead changes. She ended up finishing second. To me, she's the kind of mare that needs a little bit of pace.
I agree with you. I like her as a horse overall, and she does tend to show up in all of her races, but she's going to need a little help, not only off the layoff here, but to beat this field, because it's a pretty good one, Dan. I think we've already seen the best that Mischievous Dream has to offer, and if one of these other fillies takes a step forward off the layoff here, she could be in trouble.
In my opinion, the number 4 Up From Parks makes a surface switch from dirt to turf, and she's run okay on turf in the past. The last time she tried it was last fall at Keeneland. They ran her on a first-level allowance. She was 3rd that day. She's done okay on synthetic. She just happens to catch a very tough field here.
It's just not an easy spot for her. I agree with you. I mean, I think it's fair to even question whether turf is her best surface. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. She seems pretty adept on all 3 surfaces, but her best race, it still makes it really tough for her to win in here.
It was close but no cigar for Breeze Easy's first 5 starts in North America for Christophe Clement, but she finally got over the hump at Woodbine. Last time out, going 3/4 of a mile on the Tapeta surface, where she got up close to the pace and she made it close at the wire, but she finally got it done. She's just as good on turf as she is on synthetic, I believe.
Yeah, probably better on turf. She will finally get it done here, but she's lucky because she was beat in about another half a second in this race. She just holds on at the end there. Her race 2 starts back. It was close between her and Mrs. Green, and it was on yielding turf day, but she had no excuse that day.
Bahamian Club also comes out of the Pebbles. This one trained by Chad Brown. She was another one trying to rally from well off of the pace. It was a live race that produced 3 next out winners. The winner coming back to earn a 92 buyer in the grade 3 Honey Fox. She was moving at the end of that race. We're going to watch Bahamian Club finish 3rd in here. And again, Miss Carol Ann's going to come from the outside to finish 6th. But I like the Bahamian Club, overcame a little bit of adversity to get a major placing.
Yeah, these two are last and next to last as this field comes to the top of the stretch. And the winner's just sprinting away from this field. Look at the final fraction there, Dan. They're coming home really, really fast in here. And they're both making up ground in this race. Bahamian Club, very conservatively ridden in that race for some reason. Didn't even go for a run around the turn. I read waited until the stretch and then let her roll. Her 2 stablemates had to jump on her. They're both really good horses. I thought she ran great in there. She won 2 of her prior 3 starts, Dan. The only time she lost, totally blocked in the stretch of that race.
Like Miss Carol Ann, she'll be making her first start since mid-September. The number 7 is Wonka, and I thought this filly had a candy trip last time out in a second level allowance going long. She sat off a moderate pace. She tired, maybe cutting back in distance is what the doctor ordered. Her race in the Soaring Softly going 7/8 of a mile last year, wasn't bad.
I agree with you. I think it might be the best race she's ever run. She hasn't necessarily gotten that better since then. Like you, I did not like her last race at all. So maybe cutting back will help her. I think she's okay, Dan, but she's going to have to run better than that last one to beat this field.
Regal Realm scored last time out in a 2-turn 7.5 furlong race at Gulfstream Park, and she had all the best of it on the lead. Let's watch Regal Realm, who back down the fractions on the backstretch, opened up the lead and pulls off the upset. She's now going to have to turn back to a sprint, and she's going to face other speed types. I do think she has a good amount of upside. So this is a situation where I think you watch the board, you name your price, and you demand value.
Yeah, I agree with you. And she could be a little bit dangerous in here if she makes the lead, I think. That I do feel like she's sort of figuring it out through racing. You can watch just about any one of her starts. She seems a little headstrong. She doesn't always really want to rate. That being said, she comes off of a big win that could pull some money her way. And she just, as you already said, she had all the best of it that day.
Sail By completes the field. This horse was a graded stakes winner as a 2-year-old, and she had an okay campaign in 2022 as well, earning a graded stakes placing. She ran in the Pebbles. She didn't run as well as the 2 fillies we talked about, but I like her sprinting. She was purchased at public auction for $200,000 since her last race, and to me, the big key is Lasix for the first time. I think that's going to really help this filly.
I agree with that. I kind of like her just going a little bit shorter, Dan. She's fine. She's a graded stakes winner going a mile and a 16th, and she can get, some longer distances too. But I really like her going a little bit shorter in here. She's got really good tactical speed from the outside. You mentioned the Pebbles. All right, maybe she didn't run as well as those other 2 fillies who are back in here, but she was wide around the track that day. She never got to save any ground. So maybe that's a little bit of an excuse.
Before we get to our top selections, because the 10 and the 11 are entered main track only, please click the subscribe button for the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. It's Preakness Week. Please subscribe. Again, we've got that Preakness webinar with myself and David Aragona on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern live. Top pick time for our Thursday race of the day. Mike, you're going with Bahamian Club, and why not? You saw that kick while she was against the race flow. She should get some more pace, and I don't mind Chad Brown off layoffs.
I don't mind him off of layoffs either. I actually don't mind the short distance for her either, Dan. We'll see if it works out. I kind of liked those 2 horses that I thought were compromised in the Pebbles. We'll see how they bet the race and who the better price is.
I'm curious to see if Sail By, going back to this shorter sprint distance and getting Lasix for the first time, can kind of get close to the pace while in the clear and maybe try to get the jump on these horses turning for home. She's going to be a price, I would think. 6291 for Mike, 9681 for me. Nice feature race at Belmont for our race of the day. It's the 8th. Good luck.